So there's this misconception that has been continually debunked, in recent time, is that you only use 10% of your brain. Now, I think I've mentioned this in a previous video. If so, I'll put the link in the description. But the fact that you actually, where that comes from, now you use your entire brain. Like, there's no point in having a bunch of brain that you don't use, because that's just an evolutionary waste. If you don't use it, you lose it evolutionarily speaking. Even if you don't believe in evolution as in we evolved from monkeys, you have to at least acknowledge the adaptation that happens in every single species to make things, making better, whatever. And I mean, there's evidence of it today, considering the different races. White people living where there's not a lot of sun, black people living where there's tons of sun, etc. On to point. Anyways. Now, where that comes from is that the average adult at any one time has at most 16% of their neurons firing. Now, that's at any one time. You use your entire brain, but at any specific point in time, you're only using up to 16% of your neurons. Now, notice how I said adult, because that's true for adults. Because despite the brain only taking up 2% of your overall body mass, it uses 20% of the energy consumed through food and sleep. So, obviously, the reason why it only uses 16% of your neurons at any one time is to conserve energy, because it already takes in a shit ton of energy, and you would need to eat and sleep a hell of a lot more in order to power the brain if it was using any more. So all those movies where they have that pill or whatever, that drug that makes them access their entire brain, I don't see them eating every fucking second for them to access all their neurons at once. So that drug has to give them a shit ton of energy and be able to override the part of the brain that says to conserve energy. Now, this is all about adults, though. What about children, toddlers, and teenagers? Well, while adults only use 20%, children use 50%, and toddlers use 60% of their consumed energy for brain power. And you'll notice that kids, proportionately, like considering their size, their brains are huge. Like, their heads are huge compared to their bodies, especially when you're comparing the size of an adult head to their bodies. And they sleep a lot, and they need to eat a lot for their body size. So it kind of shows that they're using up more energy, so they need to consume more energy, as well as the fact that they're growing and they need to replace cell tissue, etc., etc., etc. Now, something else you'll notice about children, like these super brains you see in these sci-fi movies and TV shows, it's basically like a toddler's brain, or a baby's brain even. There's a theory that babies can communicate with each other and animals through being able to detect, some people it's like crazy shit like telepathy type stuff, but kind of like that super sensitive, able to recognize emotions and feelings, etc., that animals typically use, but that kind of super brain power to communicate with each other, because babies can understand each other in a freakishly accurate way without using language, which we depend on. So there have been some theories about that. I don't know how I feel about those, but something you have to recognize is how fast and how easily children can learn. Now, their brain power allows them to absorb and process a shit ton of information, and they remember it and store it quite well. If you were to give the same amount of information to a child and to an adult, the child will be able to learn more and everything else, granted it's at their education level. Because adults are smarter because they have more information. Children are smarter because they're able to take in more information, if that makes any sense. So all these super brain stuff and whatever, it's basically just the minds of young children. And I read this thing that someone was saying, well, science has shown that the average brain of a man is bigger than the average brain of a woman, and then someone made a joke. It's like, yes, and that's why elephants take over the world. The reason why the average size brain of a man is bigger than a woman is because the average body of a man is bigger than a woman. So there's more body for the brain to do shit with, like to control and whatnot. So yeah, but it's interesting to know that we were once these, all those sci-fi or whatever things. We were once that sort of thing as children. And which is why it's also interesting where there's this idea that the older you are, the more intelligent you are. even though you might have absorbed more information, but your ability to store and process that information has decreased significantly the older you get. So actually, if you have a lot of information at a young age, your brain is more powerful than someone who's older, just by default. And now the whole needing to eat a lot and sleep a lot thing, I always joke that I have the brain of a teenager still, because my circadian rhythm is still that of the typical teenager, which is not tired till about midnight and waking up at 10, after 10 at least, and needing, 10 hours sleep versus the adults, 8 hours sleep, because I am 21, so I'm technically an adult. And the fact that I can still retain and absorb information. Like, I'm always spouting off random facts, and actually, my friends call me Little Miss FYI, because anytime a topic comes up, I'm like, well, actually, or did you know about everything? And then they're like, where the hell did you learn that? And then one time I was like, oh yeah, that was like grade 11 biology, and he's like, but that was like 5 years ago. And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's like, man, your ability to retain things is nuts, and the fact that I can just learn and learn and learn, I sometimes joke maybe I have a young brain still, it hasn't quite grown up. So, and the fact that I need to sleep a lot and I need to eat a lot without, okay, I admittedly, when I eat a lot of junk food, it does make me fatter, but when I can eat a lot of healthy food without it affecting my weight too much, and I get hungry more often, and I need more food like a growing person versus a fully grown person. So maybe that's a thing. If you know anything about brains developing at a slower speed or something like that, or like not maturing into adulthood's weakness, let me know, because I'm honestly curious about this about myself. This is my own theory, because it just, with the evidence I have and the knowledge I have, because I'm able to learn things and teach things and make conclusions about them faster than most people. At least that's what I've been told. And of course, I only know my own personal experience, but let me know. Or does it have something to do with my mental illnesses? Because I do have ADHD and anxiety and either BPD or bipolar, so... Oh, and also for the sleeping thing, it could just because I'm an insomniac and the drugs make me sleep a certain amount or something, but with the medication, if I only get like 6 or 7 hours sleep, I'm like a zombie all day, unless I get at least 10 hours sleep, so let me know.